Have you got a 10-year plan? Have you got a plan about what you're going to do and how you're going to achieve it in the next 10 years? Let me tell you about a study. It was Yale Business School, 1953. And what they did is they had some MBA students that were graduating, and they decided to interview them all and ask them which ones had a definite plan about what they were going to achieve in the next 10 years. Only 3% had a definite plan. So students went away. 10 years later, they called them back. And they found that the 3% had accumulated more personal wealth than the other 97% combined. You know, it was an amazing result. And so this has been mentioned by many motivational speakers throughout the years, by life coaches, it's written in books, it's in articles. You even hear about it in interviews. Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? Business plans. What's the 10-year plan for the business? You know, it'd all be that simple if it wasn't for a journalist called Lawrence Tabak. Now, Lawrence had a great idea. He went to his editor and he said, you know, I want to go back to the Yale Business School and go back to the original 10-year study that they did. And I want to find the original people that were involved within that study, and I want to interview them all, and we could do runs of stories, not just the ones which were in the 3%, but some of the other stories showing the other people's lives and what happened with them. And his editor said, that's fantastic. That's a brilliant idea. Go for it. So Lawrence went to Yale, and he did a lot of digging, and then a lot more digging. And he found out this study never existed. It was a total hoax. And in fact, after a lot more digging, he found out that the first mention of it was in a series of videos by Zig Ziglar, a motivational speaker, who mentioned this amazing study. It was then repeated by many other motivational speakers in books, articles, and no one checked. You see, if you think about it, how could you possibly plan for 10 years into the future? You know, how could you plan 1 year into the future, let alone 10? You know, it's like trying to plan a game of chess by planning every single move you're going to make before you play the game. How do you know what the other player is going to play? And also in chess, at least you know what all the pieces are, and you also know how they all move. In life, you don't know what everything is. You don't know how everything works. And that's why when you actually look at practical examples of what produces success, like for instance, there's a fantastic methodology called Agile. It's for programming code. And originally, before Agile, they used to plan everything with something called waterfall, which they plan everything from the beginning to the end, right? And it would never work. It would be over budget. It'd be way beyond the time schedule. It just never worked. And so they developed this thing called Agile, which was all about learning and adapting and learning and adapting and learning and adapting. And that's what a successful strategy actually is. If you look at people who've adopted similar strategies, like Steve Jobs, a successful entrepreneur, probably one of the most successful entrepreneurs. He started the company Apple, who's obviously made iPhones and iPods and all the rest of it. He started it in his garage from nothing. And in his lifetime, and a short lifetime as well, he built it to the biggest company that had ever existed. And in his famous Stanford University speech, he told the students 3 stories about his life. And the point of it was, he was trying to explain it's only when you look back in your life that you can connect the dots. It's impossible to look forward and to try and work out what will be useful and what won't be useful. There's been many films made about Steve Jobs, and there's a great one And they use this one scene in the trailer. And it's when one of his assistants comes up to him and she says, "Steve, I need to know what the plan is, Steve. Tell me what the plan is." And he turns to her and he says, "The plan will reveal itself to you when you're ready to see it." You haven't got a plan? No. I mean, this is one of the most successful entrepreneurs that has ever lived. That's reality. You know, if you ever tried to write a 10-year plan and you thought it was any good, then quite frankly, you don't know what you're talking about. If you want to be successful, my advice to you is this: go as far as you can see, and then you can see further. You see, I'm not saying that you should just plow into things without thinking about it and considering things. No. You should plan as far as you can see, which isn't very far. And when you get there, you can plan again. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, and I hope to see you soon.